It begins with a smell, nothing sharp or sudden, but a slow heavy odor that settles into the walls of a house in Bacoor, just south of Manila. Before May 2023, the house in Bacoor looked like any other on the street. A low gate, a narrow path, curtains drawn against the afternoon heat. It stood in a neighborhood where people nodded in passing, where evenings ended in the quiet shuffle of dishes and radio static. Nothing about it suggested what would later be found inside. Living there was 48-year-old Mila Narciso Loslos. To her family, she was gentle and dependable. The kind of person who remembered birthdays and checked on her son no matter how late it was. At 21, he still answered her calls out of habit. She was a steady presence, the voice that anchored the household. Sharing that home was William Thomas Worth, a 71-year-old American expatriate who had chosen the Philippines for his retirement. Neighbors described him as soft-spoken and distant, a man who kept to himself and never caused disturbance. His life was structured, his habits deliberate. Morning coffee, brief walks, doors locked at dusk. Mila and William were partners, boyfriend and girlfriend. As local reports would later note, they shared the same space, the same routines, and for a time, the same plans. From the street, their life looked calm, almost uneventful. Shared meals, shared errands, evenings spent indoors. Inside, the balance was different. William provided the money. Mila kept the home running. Between them grew an unspoken dependency built on trust, the kind of trust that feels solid until hairline cracks begin to travel beneath the paint. Mila's life, however, carried layers she did not show to everyone. She was married, though the relationship lived at the edges of her daily routine. More obligation than partnership, more history than home. At the start of her relationship with William, she kept that marriage to herself. William did not know. It was a private fact held outside the walls they shared, a detail small enough to hide for a while and heavy enough to change everything when it surfaced. Those close to Mila rarely spoke of tension or scenes. Her days appeared predictable, shaped by work, family, and quiet balance. Neither she nor William saw how thin their trust had become, or how much weight the hidden marriage placed on it. They did not sense how close it was to breaking until it finally did. The change inside the Bacoor house did not arrive suddenly. It built in fragments. Questions about spending, missing cash withdrawals, and quiet pauses that lasted a little too long. For months, William had been sending money to Mila. In total, it came to about 1 million pesos, roughly $18,000. At first it was given freely, a gesture of care and stability, but when he could no longer trace where it had gone, generosity turned into suspicion. The conversations began to tighten. Answers that once seemed harmless now felt incomplete. Receipts disappeared, stories overlapped, and then the discovery came. William learned what Mila had kept hidden since the beginning. She was married, and she had a family she had never told him about. Police would later note that the tension between them rose sharply in the last week of April 2023, when William confronted her about both the money and the secret marriage. He said he had noticed her growing distant, that expenses no longer made sense, and that he felt deceived by what he described as a double life. What began as disbelief shifted into resentment. No neighbors heard shouting, no one heard cries for help. Whatever happened stayed behind closed doors, contained within the narrow walls of the home they shared. Investigators believe that during one of these confrontations, Mila fell and struck her head. What followed was confusion that turned to panic, then to rage. William placed his hands around her neck and squeezed until she stopped moving. It was deliberate, sustained, and final. When it was over, the house fell into a stillness that no sound could fill. William did not call the police or her family. He moved instead with a methodical calm. He wrapped Mila's body in plastic, sealed it with tape, and slid it into a blue plastic water drum kept in storage at the back of the house. The lid went on, the cabinet door closed, and for a few days, the world outside continued as if nothing had changed. Only the smell, rising slowly through the heat of early May, would finally tell the truth. For 4 days, no one heard from Mila Narciso Loslos. She did not call her son, she did not reply to his messages, and she did not come home. For her son, this silence was not normal. Mila had never gone a single day without contact. By the early hours of May 9, 2023, worry had become fear, and he decided to go to her house in Bacoor. The neighborhood was still. When he knocked, the door opened to reveal William Thomas Worth, calm and composed. He told the young man that Mila had gone out, that she might have needed space, and that there was nothing to worry about. But as William spoke, the son caught something in the air, a faint, sickly smell seeping from the house. It was not food, not garbage, not mildew. It was heavier, a foul smell, the unmistakable scent of decay. He didn't challenge William. He simply left, walked straight to the nearest police station, and reported what he had seen and what he had smelled. Later that same day, officers followed him back to the house. William was still inside, sitting quietly near the living area, while uniformed men spread out through the rooms. They searched the living room first, then the kitchen, then the narrow hallway leading to the back. Nothing seemed out of place. No broken furniture, no stains, no trace of struggle, but the odor grew stronger with every step. It led them toward a cabinet whose door was slightly ajar. When the officers opened it, they found a blue plastic water drum, about 50 gallons in size, sealed completely with layers of tape. It was the kind of drum used in many Filipino homes to store clean water. But this one was different. Its seal was uneven. The tape rushed and thick. The officers cut through it and removed the lid. The moment the cover lifted, the smell hit them. Inside the drum was Mila Loslos. Her body was wrapped in a garbage bag, bound tightly with packing tape and compressed to fit into the container. She had been dead for several days. Investigators later described her remains as bloated, consistent with decomposition under the early May heat. Life outside had continued as usual while she lay hidden behind a cupboard door. Police began to secure the scene. They documented everything in photographs and collected evidence. 3 knives and a length of nylon rope found inside the house. They also noted cuts and abrasions on William's hands and forearms, small wounds that suggested a struggle, signs that Mila had fought back. The body was taken to the Cavite Provincial Forensic Unit for autopsy. The medical examiner's report was clear: asphyxia caused by strangulation. Bruises and contusions covered her body, confirming that the confrontation had turned violent before it ended. Based on decomposition and other forensic indicators, the estimated time of death fell between May 6th and 7th, aligning with the investigators' timeline. When the search was over, William did not resist. He did not shout or attempt to flee. At around 1:30 p.m. on May 9th, he was formally placed under arrest. Officers guided him out of the front gate and into a waiting police vehicle, while neighbors gathered along the narrow street, whispering and filming on their phones. Few of them could believe that the quiet expatriate who kept to himself had been living for days with the body of his partner sealed inside his home. As the patrol car pulled away, the blue drum remained inside, surrounded by yellow tape and flashing lights. What had begun as a missing person report had become a homicide investigation. Standing outside the house, Mila's son could only stare at the place where his mother's voice had once filled the rooms. The silence that surrounded him was heavy and absolute. The silence that follows a truth no one should ever have to face. After the findings were reviewed, a formal charge of murder was filed against William. In the Philippines, murder is a non-bailable offense. There would be no release while the case proceeded. William was transferred from the police station to a detention facility, where he has remained ever since. The US Embassy in Manila confirmed awareness of the case, citing privacy rules that prevent further comment. Its role is limited to ensuring that the American citizen's rights are observed during custody. It has no authority to intervene in local proceedings. For now, the case sits in the Philippine court system, unfinished, awaiting trial. No verdict has been issued, no sentence pronounced. The official documents list William Thomas Worth as detained, pending arraignment and trial for the charge of murder. The house in Bacoor stands in silence, a place where a relationship began and where it ended